top 5 dark horse Heisman candidates, and one of these is not going to be a dark horse for very long, but I did want to throw on a list since he was not someone who I think you would have put on there at the beginning of the year. But we'll start out at the bottom, number 5, Ashton Gelott from Louisville. He's a defensive tackle. He is tearing it up. He wrecked shop against Notre Dame last week and put himself in that, in the perfect world where we're actually saying football player and not, quarterback or running back or maybe a wide receiver. This is a dude. We watched a little bit of the Louisville game the other night in here, and I came away really impressed with what Jeff Brom is doing. I don't know what the rest of their season has in store for them, but they play a brand of football that's physical. They're not messing around. They're probably going to be a little up and down on offense because they've got some playmakers. Their quarterback is good. Plummer's good. He's fine. He's fine. He's not he's not
going to be on this list, Paul.
No, he's not going to be on this list. But I think of the guys that stood out to me, Ashton Gelott did the other night.
Jawar Jordan at running back, and they got some playmakers. But congrats to him on getting the mention. He'll have no chance to win this award.
But that's why it's dark horse.
You're right that he at least deserves a little bit of love, and defenders deserve some love. And he's got a handful of sacks already on the year, and Louisville's been a nice little story here so far. I'm happy for our friend Alexis Cubitt that she's getting to cover this team. And before that, she was with Clemson. She's kind of getting spoiled.
Well,
and if she was here in Waco, she was covering a pretty good Baylor team, I think, for the most part. So
I don't know. Somebody needs to hire Alexis full-time in their city now because Clemson's dipped since Alexis left.
I'm calling a rule.
They just left.
Man, is he not made, though, for Big Ten football? The win the other night. I mean, that's Big Ten football of, screw scoring 30 points. We're just going to get in the mud. And
when we do talk to him, I can't wait to say, knowing him the way that we do, I saw a couple shots of the sideline early in that game where you could see the look on his face was like, as long as we win this game by 1 point, I want Illinois to know where they were, what happened. Yeah, that was the get the physical there. Number 4, even though they took a loss, I'm leaving Cam Ward on my dark horse Heisman list. I think he's good enough to where he can get Washington State right back in the conference discussion, especially after some more, cannibalization of in the Pac-12. I think he's going to keep him right back in there. He also has the, I'll just call it the RG3 ability to make those plays for a school that was. Nobody thought RG3 was a Heisman candidate legitimately when the season started, when he won it. You would have said
no, he wasn't.
Yeah. And so Cam Ward is kind of like that in that, you're not going to talk about Heisman winners at Washington State, just like you weren't talking about Heisman winners at Baylor. And so he can maybe be in that category where if he has that Heisman moment in a game that keeps them in the conference race late, I wouldn't be surprised to see him sneak up some boards because the dude is really, really good and fun to watch.
Yeah, no, he's a blast to watch, and I think, unfortunately for him, they have a crop of other Heisman contenders in that conference alone. And so even if he's really, really good and better than most, he's still number 3 in that conference or number 4, depending on which week you're talking about, or number 2 or whatever. But, had a little bit of a rougher game against UCLA with a couple of turnovers. That was a tough loss for them, but they're still very much in the mix, like you said. And quite frankly, their schedule is very manageable. I mean, Arizona's they've been a plucky team, so that's not a given by any means. That'll be an interesting game for them coming up this weekend. But then you got the big road trip to Oregon. That's an opportunity for him to have a Heisman moment potentially, or at least a big game on that resume. And then I think it's, kind of manageable, but they close out with Colorado and then Washington on the road. So, some big games remaining for him to make more of a mark, but he definitely deserves some love.
Yeah, absolutely. I also, I hope that I'm doing this list next year and add the name. I wanted to throw this out there because he's a really fun player to watch from Arizona State. Is Cameron Skattebo.
Like saying that name.
Yeah,
yes, I do.
It's just like Louisville.
Yeah. Skattebo. Anyway, but number 3 from the major program but plays the wrong position to get votes for whatever reason category, Brock Bowers. Maybe the most individually dominant player at any position in college football. There is not I mean, maybe Caleb Williams is as dominant at quarterback as Brock Bowers is at tight end, but there's like, when you look at, there's really good tight ends around the country. The position's changing a little bit, right? You're asking them to do more. This guy is such a unicorn. Like even Kyle Pitts, who played for Florida a couple years ago,
that's what I was thinking of, yeah.
Didn't really do the things that Brock Bowers is doing right now. He is that good of a player and should be in the Heisman discussion all year long, but there's an old segment of voters that are like, well, he's just a tight end. No. He's just an effing monster.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
He's a dude. He's a dude.
No, he's an absolute stud, future first-rounder, future lottery guy. I know the lottery's not in the NFL draft, but I still, apply that to those top picks. But, yeah, he's incredible to watch, and just make sure you sit down and watch him at some point and just enjoy that freak of nature exists in this great game that we love called college football. And there's a lot of other freaky, super talented guys, but he has definitely this season and really the past, as long as he's been suiting up for the Dogs, he's been one of those guys in college football, yeah.
Yeah, okay. If the draft were today, the New England Patriots would have the 6th pick. Now, they probably really need to look at their quarterback situation, but let's just assume that Drake May and Caleb Williams are off the board by pick 6, which you would think they would be, right. And that nobody else is maybe in the top 10 range as quarterbacks go.
Caleb Williams is going number one overall.
Yeah, he would go like retroactively in the draft
right.
if the worst team could make that happen. But yeah, because Caleb Williams and Drake May are gone. Those guys are going to be top 10. You're telling me that even with quarterback issues, that Bill Belichick could say no to him? That's a Belichick dream right there.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that would be tempting. I think, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that would be tempting, but let's see how the Patriots season plays out a bit more with Mac Jones and how all that works together. But no, he's going to be, whoever gets him is going to be super happy on draft day. That's for sure.
Yeah, and they better be creative like Georgia has been creative with him in the offense for the last couple years. Number 2, probably off the dark horse list, but was not a guy that you thought about at the beginning of the year. But after that win, Dillon Gabriel had his Heisman moment for sure. If he continues to go on and you look back and say, well, what was his Heisman moment? 1 minute and 16 seconds left against Texas and took them down the field and won the game. So yeah, this is someone, and I do feel a little bit, Craig, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Oklahoma fans were kind of ho-hum about him, because they've got Jackson Arnold coming through the ranks and like, yeah, it's fine. We have Dillon Gabriel.
I think, for one, the fan base is spoiled with quarterbacks the last few years. But I do think in comparison to Caleb Williams, it's a little bit of a step down. But, I just think that really mostly there was just so many other questions around him too, and that contributed. But, yeah, I don't know that anybody had him as a Heisman favorite per se.
No.
Maybe some people did, and if they did, kudos to you. But I think he's definitely in that top grouping now after Saturday. And, if they were somehow pull that off and win another Heisman and do it post Riley and do it with a quarterback and all, that would be the guy who replaced Caleb Williams. That would be pretty incredible. But yeah, he's firmly in the mix. He had a great showing and has been pretty good all year long.
Yep. And number 1, Mizzou's Luther Burden. He is just catching passes. Brady Cook is, if I did a most improved players in the country list, Brady Cook might be number 1. I have to do a little bit more research on that, but before the season, we had Graham Bronstein here all summer just lamenting their quarterback situation, and Brady Cook's been really fantastic for them, fighting through injuries, playing tough, and part of the reason he's been fantastic is Luther Burden is a guy that most people in the country probably didn't know about. But when you catch like 11, 13, 14 passes in games like he's been doing, you're going to put your name on the map. And he's a huge reason why Mizzou is in the spot they're in now, which Garrett says, thankfully, 5-1 and not 6-0.
Yeah, no, he's been incredible. 100-yard games in every game except for their opener. Just been absolute nails. And not enough, obviously, versus LSU, but he made his impact felt against LSU. He wasn't the reason they lost that football game. So, yeah, he had 96 in the opener. And since then, 117, 114, 177, 140, and 149. Those are his totals. And in the last 3 games, double-digit catches. So they're leaning on him hard. And you know what? You pony up and get a big-time 5-star playmaker like that. That's exactly what you want that guy to be doing, and that's what they can now point to in the future and say, like, see what a difference this guy made for us, and use that as ammunition and recruiting in the future. But, yeah, I mean, a guy from a big recruiting background who's paying dividends for the Tigers in his home state school, and he's an exciting guy to watch if you haven't seen him already, which I'm sure most have that watch this show. But yeah, he's really, really good.
Was his final two Missouri and OU? Was that?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think it might have been. Yeah. I believe so.
Garrett, thank you. Jack, thank you. Levi, Emery, thank you. Also our sponsor.